and what you need to prove for agents or the landlords, because honestly, a lot of times people just doesn't understand how important, before you leave your main job, make sure you have a certain portfolio or cash flow, because most of the time you want to open a new LTD, a new company, and obviously
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Peter and Giuseppe here this evening. How are we all? Hopefully you're all well. So we've got a very special guest this evening, as you can see on the screen right below. We've got Giuseppe Leone, who is going to come and have a chat to us this evening, which is really great because he's a fantastic guy. So who is Giuseppe? Well, I'm going to do a little short intro of who he is, and now I'm going to let him do most of the talking this evening. So Giuseppe is an award-winning property investor. So he's one of the first one on our show. So great to have someone so prestigious who's built up a substantial HMO portfolio in Bristol. And similar to myself, he's also got a corporate background and moved into a property later on once he started with rent-to-rent. So Giuseppe, welcome. We're absolutely thrilled to have you this evening. How are you?
Good evening. Very well. Thank you so much. And both of you, thank you so much for inviting me. It's my first Facebook Live, so very exciting. And we will have a lot of fun. We will
definitely not the last one, don't worry.
Exactly. Really.
Guaranteed. Right. So Giuseppe, just we normally start with a very simple question to to all of our guests. And that's basically, tell us a little bit about yourself so we can introduce you to people who are not familiar with you. Tell us a bit about yourself before you've done property. And also maybe you could just expand on the fact of, you've moved into property. What was the reason for you to do that? What made you move into property investing?
Really? Yeah. So my name is Giuseppe Leone. I'm Italian from Milan. And a little bit of background about myself.
After uni, Juventus, you have to say that to people, right?
And I support Juventus. I'm very happy about that.
Only Milan.
Even if at the moment it's not going very well. But absolutely. But so coming from Milan, and after uni, I joined Shell, the oil company. And I worked for them for 17 years. And I work a global level as well. I work in Milan, then I moved to Hamburg in Germany, and then I moved to London. And while I was in London, I was looking for something different, because as much as I truly, truly love my corporate career, and I would do it again all the time. And personally, I think everybody should spend the first 5 years of their work life in a corporation, big corporation, because they really teach you how to work professionally and so on. But I want to prove myself that I would be able to build a business myself. And when I was a kid, I want to be an architect. Then I don't know why I decided to study business and finance, which clearly helped me now to run my business from a financial point of view. But the love for the passion for property has always been in my blood since I was a kid. So in 2014, while I was still working for Shell, I started looking for businesses where I didn't need a lot of cash in advance to kick it off and cash flow. And I just simply Google and say businesses or strategies where you can start with a very small amount of money. And I bumped into this property strategy, which is called rent-to-rent, which I guess we will discuss about that a little bit later. And that was really the beginning on my new life in property. So I looked into this strategy. I educated myself. I attended a 2-day course because I was a little bit skeptical at the beginning. I remember telling Jilly, my wife, I said, it looks too good to be true. But as usual, I'm open-minded. So I went to this course 2 days, and I came back and said, well, actually, it's as good as it sounds. So let's make it happen. And then I got my first mentor, which helped me to really progress more quickly than if I had done myself. And as you mentioned in your very kind presentation to me, within the first year of my new life in properties, not only I start to build my rent-to-rent portfolio, but I also purchased my first property, which then I turned into a beautiful HMO, house multiple occupancy. And for that project, I managed to win the Property Investor Award 2015 in the newbie section, which I still don't believe I won it. And yeah, I don't think I did anything real exceptional, but clearly the judges had a different opinion. I didn't challenge them, obviously. So, and I'm very glad I won it. And yeah, I'm very proud of it, obviously.
You very humbly accepted the prize, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. And you know, what I love about that is, not to make it very special, is it was my first year in property. I'm also foreigner in this country and so on. And I had a very busy work life, plus two very young kids who didn't sleep at that time. And so it was pretty complicated in my situation, and I made it happen, which clearly gives you the message that if you really want to do it, you can succeed. If I made it, everybody can make it. And I really mean it. I'm not special. I'm just driven, and I got educated properly, and that's the result.
That sounds really good, and I'm really glad you mentioned, even though that would have been my second question, my first question, and the second question to you. What was the award you won, and what did it take to? But you already answered the question.
Sorry.
Honestly, I'm really glad you mentioned. Because obviously you are in a foreign, and we all foreign people in this country, and we came in some time a couple of years ago, and it's very, very hard. When we was three of us, we already discussed about this. It's not easy to start a new life in a new country, and especially doing a business and building up something. And it's a really great you mentioned. It's you made it, and how good you felt yourself, and when you felt you made it, and everybody can make it. So that's our biggest message tonight. Whoever is watching us or is going to watch later, everybody can do it. If we did it, you did it, everybody can do it. That's absolutely the most important thing. And the one question, I replaced my original one, because you mentioned the mentor and how big help it was for you. So I just want to ask, how big that help you think was, how big part it played in your success, especially succeed in a very, very short within a very, very short period.
Yeah, well, the reason why I think my mentor really was pivotal to me to kick it off successfully was that first of all, the mentor gives you accountability. So on a weekly basis, I had to report back to my mentor and to the group of mentees I was part for, and show them what I had planned for the following week, what I had achieved in that list, and what I had not achieved. And, you know, I'm pretty proud of myself, yeah, and I would have not killed myself. I would have really stretched myself to go there and say I've done nothing, even if I would have had all the excuses this world, yeah, big job, 2 kids, wife who was working as well. So I could have justified myself to say I've done nothing. But because I had to report back to my mentor, even if I had to do one thing out of the full list, for me, one small step forward is better than no steps. And because I was forced to do at least one step forward every week, you know, at the end of the year, I achieved much more than I would have achieved if I had been alone. Because there is always something that deviates you from your goal. But if you have got somebody who gives you the accountability, you feel more motivated to do that. At least I felt more motivated. And on top of that, it's like having a safety net behind you. You know how many times I called him and say, "Hey, I'm in this situation. I don't know what to do. Which direction would you go?" Yeah. And this person, the mentor, usually somebody much more experienced than you. He has made a lot of mistakes himself or herself. So he can help you to mitigate the number of mistakes. We will all do mistakes. That's a fact of life. But if you can mitigate the number, so make the least number of mistakes, is much better, because in properties especially, a mistake most of the times means money. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the reason why I'm glad I had my mentor. In fact, I had 3 mentors in my life so far, and I think they really helped me to succeed, and they changed my life. So I'm very grateful to all of them.
I don't want to talk mentors for too long, but can I just ask you one thing on this? Because I have a conversation with people around this all the time, and I get the accountability and all that, and I think they're absolutely valid points. But obviously, getting a good mentor always costs you a bit of money as well.
Of course.
And I always think that, well, my opinion anyway, is that when people pay good money for something like a mentor, and I don't want to put a price tag on it, but just pay some money for it, you think that is actually a lot of money for what you think at the time. Do you think that is actually also a motivating factor for people, because now they have a vested interest in essentially, I guess, getting their money back as well?
Absolutely.
I personally do, but I just want to hear your view on that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, if you invest money in something, you want this money to work. So that's what drives me crazy when I see people who attend courses and then they don't do anything with what they've learned in those. I say, why did you waste that money? Go to the casino and play on black and red on the roulette. It's exactly the same. In fact, you might win some money that way. So, yeah. The fact that you have invested, you really want to put even more effort in learning as much as you can. You've got a limited time. You want to suck every single inch of knowledge from the head of your mentor, so that then you are independent. And absolutely.
Yeah, I completely agree. So obviously, rent-to-rent is where you started, and how far did you get in terms of rent-to-rent? So how big you built your business? Because rent-to-rent means different things to different people. For some people, it's two properties with 10 rooms is perfectly enough for them to manage, and I know others who got many hundreds of rooms, and so they built a huge business out of it. So you don't have to tell us numbers exactly, but just give us a little flavor in terms of how far can one get in terms of starting with a corporate job and rent-to-rent, and then moving on to and building something up.
Yeah. So first of all, I chose rent for the simple reason that I could kick off my business with a fairly low amount of money, but I could start cash flowing very quickly, because it's a strategy that you can implement fairly quickly once you have been educated, and then you start getting your money back. And so talking about a little bit of numbers, in the first year when I was still working for Shell, my wife was full-time employee as well. I got to 5 rent-to-rent HMOs in the first year, and that was working an average probably 1 or 2 hours a day for each week, so not a huge amount of time. And the beauty of properties rent-to-rent technology now is you don't really need to work the standard 9 to 5. You can source a property or look for a property even at midnight. You just need a mobile phone, and you open the app of Rightmove or so on, and you find it. So in fact, personally, I think that anyone who starts in properties should not leave their job if they can stick to their job, because they want to have financial security from a day-to-day job, which means if you got financial security, you are less stressed, so you take less risk, and you are not making more mistakes because you want to rush it into it because you got the bills to pay at the end of the month. And the second thing is, we all think properties are world is amazing, and the 3 of us, we all love it. That's why we are still here. But somebody might find that actually their day-to-day job is much better than working property. So you can try start part-time. If it doesn't work, or if it's not nice, or if you don't like it as much as you thought you would have liked, you can let it go and keep going your day-to-day job. So in terms of rent-to-rent, I attached 3 goals to the rent-to-rent strategy, and that's why I chose it. So at the beginning, the first 2 years, I wanted the rent-to-rent strategy to produce a net profit which would have replaced my and my wife corporate salary, because I've got a standard life I want to keep, and I had 2 kids, and so I didn't want to put myself under financial stress. So after 2 years we started, my wife managed to replace her salary with the money from the company, and then 1 year later I managed to do the same. So after 3 years from day one, we managed to replace 2 fairly good corporate salaries with our net profit of our business. Now, the second stage is where I am now. It's almost finished. I built my business as big as I could, because I didn't want only to fill my life, but also I wanted to create some disposable cash that I could use to build my own portfolio, because the long-term plan is to own my own portfolio. And because obviously then if you own your own portfolio, you're much more in control, because in rent to rent, the house is not yours. So if circumstances changes at the end of your contract, you might lose that house. Okay. So according to my Excel spreadsheet, which I look every day, by July this year, I should have finished to build my own portfolio in the size that I wanted to build 7 years ago. So it took me 7 years to build my own portfolio of HMOs. And so the second phase should finish in the next few months. And then we will jump into phase 3, which means that the money from my own portfolio will allow me to fuel my life. And then the money coming from the rent business, now I will use them to pay down my my mortgages in my portfolio, because the perfect situation is then to have a portfolio without any mortgages, any debts. So that will be the third phase. And when that is finished, I will finally enjoy what is the miss in the property, which is passive income. Which at the moment I will not find it yet, but for me it's not passive income. It's what I love about property is it's flexible way of working, and that's the beauty of property. So it will never be fully passive if you really want to keep an eye on your business. But if you can run your business from a beach in Miami, and it's better than being in the office 9 to 5. So, and this is all about quality of life.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with what you're saying, and I really like the plan, because what we always telling people or mentees, people who are learning from us and in the group as well. So we're always telling people to plan, and plan in advance. So you need to plan long term, medium, and short term as well. And even you need to break it down to weeks, months, even days, to do the do list, and you need to go there. And a day by day, you need to go there and achieving your goals, because otherwise, if you don't know why you're doing it, then there is no point. And I really like you mentioned your stage, and the congratulations. Hope I'm sure you're sure gonna make the stage 3. And honestly, I have stages as well. That's why I put in my stages. I have stage 2 as well, but hopefully I'm gonna be stage 3, and I have stage 5, to be honest. But we all split to each other whatever we want to achieve. So it's always up to us.
It's a personal choice.
Yeah, Bobby, I'm not. And the other thing I really like, you mentioned you also looking at your Excel sheet. So obviously you not just planned it. So you not just say, okay, I want to be stage 2 and stage 3 in 5 years, but you also put a detailed plan along with your numbers, which you keep tracking, measuring those numbers, and that's how you know where you are. Because otherwise, how would you know whether you're going to your goal, to get your goal, if you don't track yourself, and if you don't measure, and if you don't know your own numbers? Because believe me, a lot of people I'm speaking, a lot of people are speaking, and they don't even put in a paper how much money they make per month.
I fully agree with you. I'm probably because it's my finance background in Shell. I'm very hot on planning. I compare the plan with what we call the actuals, what we have already achieved. So I run all my business from accounting point of view through a software called Xero, Xero. And the beauty of that software is on a monthly basis, I can run a profit and loss and balance sheet report by business, but also by property. So every month I compare the budget for that month for that property versus what have you really achieved. So what they call the actual for that month, for that property. And then there is a variance analysis, which is the difference between budget and what I've really achieved. Obviously, if the numbers are better than my forecast one, I'm very happy, obviously. Yeah. I'm not going to cry. But what the reason why I do it is because I want to check if there is something that is going worse than I had planned. Because if that's the case, I want to deep dive into it and understand the root cause. It might be a one-off, a big maintenance issue that can happen. That's fine. But if there is a clear flaw in my business model, I want to fix it day one, not 12 months later. Because if I wait for 12 months when my accountant is going to tell me, actually, Giuseppe, it's been pretty bad this year, I might have lost so much money that I could have saved. So I think planning and checking your plan needs to be like religiously done on a monthly, quarterly basis. Otherwise, it's like flying a plane with your eyes shut. You might be lucky to get there, but very likely you will crash. And I don't want to crash.
That is like, I couldn't agree more. Measuring, tracking, keep tracking and measuring yourself, and even separately. Yes, we use similar. Obviously, we use different software. We use QuickBooks, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you want to know exactly the numbers when you reconcile and when you know all the expenses and all the incomes. It is so crucial. Obviously, we are not accountants. I don't want to get into in these details, but it's a good advice as well. It's a good advice as well. Get a good accountant even before you get your first rent-to-rent, because how you build your structure, how you what company you're gonna use, especially if you wanna go big, go there. Shall you use yourself as an owner, or shall you use shares, or shall you, especially if you're JV partners, joint venture partners, or holding company, share use a holding company. So many things you need to consider in order to set up your structure at the beginning. And if you set up everything rightly, you're not going to complain after when it turns out, oh, okay, I didn't even know how much I need to pay. Oh, I need to pay this and that and that. So all these things can be avoided if you get it right at the beginning. So the good accountant is always worth gold. A good accountant always worth gold. But even so, you need to make sure you're tracking yourself as well, because nobody ever will understand your own business better than you yourself. So even if you have a very good and best team, we have a big team as well. You have a working team as well. So even if we always need to make sure we check on them, even on our own people, because only you who gonna get into details, because you want to make sure there is no mistake there, because some mistake can show you completely different numbers if you leave that part. It's not a sexy part, to be honest. I really hate that part. It's not a sexy part of the business, but this is part of the business as well. You need to get this right.
Absolutely. If you don't do that, you can get in trouble. And back to your account, and I agree with you, you need to set yourself up properly from day one, because retrofitting a wrong decision, sometimes it cannot be done, by the way, but even if it can be done, it's very, very costly. And I usually choose my accountant who is also a property investor, because accountant can be the best accountant in the world, but if they've never invested in properties, especially rent-to-rent, which is a pretty niche type of business, if they don't understand it properly, they might advise you in the wrong way. So ask always the question, say, have you ever invested in property? Do you know what rent-to-rent means? If the answer is no to any of this question, even if it's the best account on the planet, I would walk away. I would choose somebody with that experience. And
Absolutely. I'm always, whoever we work with, your investors as well, I'm always offering our accountant, because I know they understand rent-to-rent, they understand service accommodation, HMO, they understand all this stuff. And as you mentioned, it's a really niche, and people need to understand how you want to get your dividends, how you want to get your money, what's the best way to build up your structure. Because sometimes you need to use different companies, different LTDs. It depends on how big you are and how big you go, especially if you start managing behalf others as well. So that's then things can start to be more complicated. But a lot of times when people start to learn about property, people, gurus, don't mention these things. It's nothing difficult to learn this. You just need to get it right, and you need to learn from the right people. And once you get this right, and when you understand what you need to do, you're gonna do it. But after this part, my next question would be to you, Giuseppe. Your first deal. So first deal is so important, obviously, and believe me, a lot of people watching now or is going to watching later, a lot of people are struggling to get the first deal, and it's not always easy. So my question: how was your first deal? It was any special on your first deal? How long did it take, or any difficulties you might share with us?
Yeah, so my first deal was also my worst deal. And I could have not started in the wrongest way. But with a rent-to-rent, the way you find your rent-to-rent deals, you can go either through a letting agency or you can go directly to the landlord. So I decided when I started to try to do both. So try to get my relationship with the letting agency, but I also send letters to already licensed HMO landlords, because in Bristol the database is really, really big. There is more than 1,000 HMOs in that register. So I sent I think 800 letters when I started, and I got back three answers out of 800. Two of them told me, please take me out of your register. I don't want to hear from you anymore. I said, whoa, that's a good way to start my career. And the third one, however, is a lender who has got a massive portfolio in Bristol. A young guy, he's in his late 30s now, and he's got hundreds of properties. And he used to rent all his property to the council. And he was happy, no big problem, but he wanted to start changing and shifting from having all his eggs in one basket, which was the council, to also get somebody else, like somebody like us, to do rent-to-rent, because he didn't want to put everything in the same place. And so I sent a letter he received my letter in exactly the moment when he was changing his strategy. So he was really interested in me. So we met up, we got on very well on a personal basis and so on. And he gave me the first property. And the first property is a 4-bedroom house, which at that time had single glazed windows with aluminum framework. And only an Italian, silly, newly starting property investor would have said yes to that beautiful house. And but at that time, I didn't know anything about that. So for me, a window was a window. Yeah, I wasn't single glazed, double glazed. I didn't know all of that. So the property was in the right location I wanted. The numbers made sense, so my business case stuck up, and so I got it. And so I very quickly rented it to my tenants. However, that was around February time, and it's still cold in England at that time, and my phone never stopped ringing for the first 6 months every day, saying there is draft coming here, there is mold there, that's not a house, that's an igloo, blah blah blah. So I had 6 months of hell. Fortunately, my lender is also a developer, so you understand that. So I managed to convince him to replace all the windows. So into double glaze, PVC, nicely insulated windows. So after the first 6 months of hell, then we replaced all the windows, and then my tenants were happy again. So that's the way I started. So the first 6 months were really terrible, but I went into this new venture with a motto that is still my motto now, which is never give up. Yeah. So once I decide to go for it, if I think that the foundation are good, I don't stop for any problems. I just go through it. I'm not saying I'm enjoying it. There are moments where I say, why the heck I'm doing this? Yeah. I could have stayed in Shell, traveling the world, nice life and so on. Why did I put myself through this hell? But I've got a vision and I got a plan, and so yeah, there are some bad days in the office, so you try to overcome those issues and move on. And so that's the way I did the first one. In fact, that one I managed it for 6 years, and exactly 1 year ago I purchased it. So now it's part of my own portfolio.
Oh, fantastic!
Congratulations. And as we speak now, I'm refurbishing it. So I'm turning it from a 4-bedroom house with 1 bathroom into, which is now a little bit of a tired house. I'm turning it into a beautiful 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom, luxury, not luxury, but high standard HMO. And and that's the other reason why I love rent-to-rent, because you can really pair it with the other strategy, which is to purchase property. So you can have a lease option if you are quite sophisticated, or you can just buy it as I did it a few years ago in a very simple way. But you can use the rent-to-rent not only to create cash flow to you, but also to build your own portfolio. So out of all my portfolio in the last 7 years, I purchased 3 of my rent-to-rent properties, and which is an additional bonus that I didn't have in plan at the beginning.
Absolutely, that's a huge bonus. Well done. That's amazing. And I think that's that's why I love people like yourself to come and talk to us, because you often hear people essentially dissing rent-to-rent. It's not really a property investing. There's no legs in it. You don't own the property. Blah blah blah. But you're the living proof that you don't have to own a property straight away for then you to be able to own that property a bit later on. It's exactly the same property. Now you've got it. Now it's yours. Now you can make it into a 5-bedroom, far better condition, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom place, which you didn't have the opportunity, but you got there because you persevered and you managed that property for quite a few years. So, I personally love stories like this, because I think that just proves that it actually does work, contrary to a lot of people's beliefs. So.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't agree more, and especially when I felt the same thing, because I heard a lot of times as well, rent-to-rent, or you have 30, 40, 50 apartments. It doesn't matter, none of them is yours. People don't understand. I learned a lot. I learned in the last couple of 3 years, let's say, more from my rent-to-rent portfolio than any other time in any other business, any time in my life. So it's a huge knowledge, because once you start to managing your properties, managing for your investors, and it's a huge portfolio, just like yourself, you learn everything about property, and that's knowledge gonna allow, because I love buying, refurb, refinance. I love the model as well myself. I love buy to lets, love buy to HMOs. We can name it. We love flip. We have a couple of flip projects with Istvan as well. So we all love these strategies, but somewhere you need to start. And most of the people who starting out in property, most of the time they have no money and no experience, or they're lucky if they have either the experience or either the money, at least. But with rent-to-rent, you can build up a good cash flow. You can build up a good knowledge, even if a first deal not the best, but you learn, and you get the next one and the next one and the next one. Once you have a cash flow, just like you mentioned, you can, just like we did with this plan, we can free up our time and leave our job and do it full time. And after you can name it, you can use whatever strategy you want to use it. So that's sometimes people don't understand. Just like your example as well, it's an amazing story, honestly.
Thank you. And now every time I go into a new property, the first thing I do is I check out the windows. So, I will not make that mistake anymore. But you need to make mistakes at the beginning, and I made a lot of them. I'm not hiding it. I made a lot of mistakes, but you learn from your mistakes.
Giuseppe, honestly, whenever I go to view the property, or most of the time I just sending any of the member of the team, we already have the checklist we need to check. So even a first viewing, because once you go to the first viewing, regardless you're gonna agree with the landlord, or it might gonna be the deal, might not gonna be the deal, but first you need to make sure you check everything, because you need to calculate the number. Because if you don't know what you need to buy for the property, or how much work you need to do, how you're gonna able to offer, how you know how much you can offer to the landlord. How much the maximum rent? What's your numbers? If you don't even check those things, and the second times, if you got the deal with the landlord, you're gonna need to go back again and do it anyway. Second time, you see a lot of times, and that's how important when you have people who you learn from, like you mentioned, the mentors. When you go to the property like this, and they can give you the guide what you need to check on the property, because a lot of people just get the deal, because I see other people on social media. Forget about other people on social media, what they show. You need to get the first deal is very important, but don't get the deal just for the sake of the deal. Make sure that it's set up. Make sure that the property is in the right location. Make sure the property has the right features and the good condition. You understand how much you're going to need to spend. If you need to spend, okay, if you have a good team, you can negotiate a rent-free, 2 months, 3 months rent-free. That's fine, still fine. But make sure you understand these things.
Absolutely.
Great.
Giuseppe, I actually really like that. Your first deal was a bit of a dud, to start. I do believe you learn a lot from it. But you mentioned you had problems with the windows, but were there any, not necessarily just with the first deal, but when you're starting out, and I like to ask this question to people who've gone through similar things like we have, were there any sort of obstacles or anything that you really struggled with right at the start that you have to overcome, that you're willing to share with people? Because I think it could be anything. People all come from all the walks of life. Some have money issues, some have mindset issues, some have time issues. What is it that you have to overcome to get to where you are?
Yeah, well, as I said, the first thing that I think everyone needs to do is going to a property strategy or property business, being educated. There is now, I love social media, I love YouTube and so on, but there is, a different side of the coin. You can use it properly, but you can misuse it. I see a lot of people, especially rent-to-rent, because they say, well, you don't need that much money and so on. I watched 3 videos on YouTube and I think I can do it. And this is the silliest mistake on the planet, because, if you don't do it properly, especially from a compliance point of view, you risk really a lot. And more importantly, your tenants risk a lot. One of the big obstacles at the beginning, especially when I was trying to source my deals through letting agencies, were, well, I need to reference your company, obviously, because I just started my company. I didn't have 1, 2, or 3 years of historical tax return. So but because I was still working for Shell, and that's the reason why, another reason why I say, when you kick off your business, try to keep your day-to-day job, so you've got a pay slip there. And so what I did is I gave myself as a guarantor to my company through my Shell pay slip. And so that allowed me to get a lot of deals at the beginning that, just based on the numbers of my company, I would have never achieved. But because I had a good salary, that was the guarantee to give me the benefits of the house to kick it off. And so that is really the key one. So try to find a way to kick it off when you have got a cash flow in your bank account that you can use as a guarantor. If that doesn't work, joint venture with somebody who has got it, or if you've got some saving, make sure that you can show that you've got a saving that can protect it. Usually, at least in Bristol, they use a multiplicator of 30. So if the rent is £1,000 a month, just for the sake of the discussion, you need to have a gross salary yearly for £30,000. If you don't have it, if you have got £20,000 in salary, £10,000 in saving, they put the two things together. But this is more or less the way to do it. So so the education and having proof of funds, basically, or proof of constant cash flow, is the 2 key elements to kick off successfully your business, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. We have a question from Harry. How to get more information? Harry, if you could just clarify exactly what you need more information on, that would be useful. And we will give you more information. If you just be a little bit more specific, please. But thank you for your comment. And again, also, I just wanted to put this up as well, guys. If you have any questions for Giuseppe, please just stick them in the comments, and we'll make sure that he answers them, because that's exactly what we're here for. Help you with any questions. We also want to obviously share Giuseppe's story as much as possible, but he's a very helpful guy. He's here to help you as well. So if you got any questions to him, please stick it in the comments.
Definitely, guys. That's why we are here, to help you. If any problem, any issue, or while we're speaking and you spot something you want to more understand, or more you want to get more details, we are really happy to cover it. Even if we're not going to have time, let's say, and it's just going to be later, we're going to put a comment as well. And Giuseppe, that's great. Again, you mentioned get the first deal and what you need to prove for agents or the landlords, because honestly, a lot of times people just doesn't understand how important, before you leave your main job, make sure you have a certain portfolio or cash flow, because most of the time you want to open a new LTD, a new company, and obviously agents, landlord don't like it, because it's a new LTD, so you need to be a guarantor of your company. And as you very, very rightly mentioned, you're going to need to prove at least minimum 3 times income in order to get that deal done, or show some proof of funds or anything like that. Thank you. It's a great advice. Anyway,
Peter, sorry to interrupt you. Can I just step in 1 second here? And I want to say something slightly controversial, but hopefully it will be fine.
Hang on. Do I need to stop the recording now?
No, don't worry. It's all legal. Don't worry. There is a big myth that you must leave your day-to-day job. Yeah, I personally slightly disagree. If you want to leave your job, obviously do it, and do it in the way that we are sharing, in a very safe way. So start your business part-time, make sure you cash flow as much as you are making as a salary, and make sure that your business is sound, that you like running your business, and then do it. But there are a lot of people who still love their day-to-day job. And in that case, you don't have to leave your loved job, because you have invest so much in education, in effort to make your career. Keep your job. In the meantime, build your side business. Ideally, put system in place, procedure in place, hire somebody to run for you, and then you just need to, oversee the person who is running your business on your behalf. And you keep your job because you love it. You're probably very good in that one. So don't think you must ditch your job. There is a big mechanism. Let's get rid of 9 to 5 rat race. Yeah, if you want to do it. But if you like that race, leave it, keep it. Yeah, and stay there. So that's my fear. I know it's a little bit controversial, because in property world, most people think different, but I strongly believe in that, to be honest.
No, absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to leave the job, because if you have a good job and you build up a good rent-to-rent portfolio, 5, 10, 15, whatever your aim, you still have something back in your, especially in the current world, COVID. Even big companies sometimes go bust, so you lose your job very, very easy. So it's good to have something. It's gonna make sure you're gonna have more money on a monthly basis, and if something happens with your main job, you have some security in the background. So that doesn't need to leave your job. And as you very rightly mentioned, again, this is something we cover with all the mentees as well. So put systems in place, like creating actually the manual to your business, is so crucial.
Absolutely.
Not just for you to understand your own business, but also when it comes to hire people. With Istvan, we always highlight this to people. Create a manual for your business, put system procedures in place, and when you hire someone, all you need to do, just make sure that you check on them, because you always need to check on them. But you don't need to do the work yourself after that, and you don't need to explain hours and days until they understand, because you have information already there. So it's a great advice. It's a great advice. So we couldn't agree more on this one either. Giuseppe, you mentioned already you really did in stage 2, stage 3. Could you please tell us more? What's going to be the next one?
So the next one is I'm finishing off the building of my portfolio. So I'm doing a refurbishment at the moment, the famous HMO with the silly windows, and then in June, July I will turn another property into a much more sophisticated HMO. At that point, my portfolio is big enough to sustain the type of life I want to live. And then what is going to happen after that is I want to just help more people to build their own portfolio or scale up their own portfolio, because it's really my passion, trying to help people to build their portfolio. Because as I said at the beginning, my mentor changed my life, and I do hope and do believe I can change the life of other people. Obviously, if opportunities arise, I'm not going to say no. If I see a great deal to purchase another property, I will do it. Or if there is a flip or a joint venture situation, I'm open. I'm still very young. Well, very young. I'm 48 years old. So but my goal is really, and this is when I started. That was always my goal. Is not. I didn't care about having a Porsche, Ferrari on my driveway. I really don't care about that. Yeah. For me, the goal is I want to have the same number of holidays of my kids who go to school. So every time the school is closed, I want to take time off from work. Yeah. And then we can travel, which is our family passion. We can just stay together with family and friends. So then when they go to school, I have no problem working because I love what I'm doing. Yeah. But it's just creating time, quality time for myself and my family. And that's, I hope, I'm sure that this is what is going to happen from stage 3, where I will be much less involved into expanding my portfolio, because it will be already at the size I need. And so I can just run and maintain it, which is much less time consuming, especially because I've got a team with me. And so this is what, you will see hopefully a lot of photos of me on holiday on social media.
As soon as we can actually all go on holiday, I think that we all be posting.
Exactly. Absolutely.
We actually got a question, so we're all disappearing from now. So Giuseppe, we lost you completely, but hopefully you can see this. So I'm going to read this out. It's a very long comment. So, evening, gentlemen. I'm just starting out in a property sourcing journey. I've read on a few other forums, Facebook groups, recently that estate agents are asking for proof of funds if you want to view a buy to sell, for example. However, if I'm not buying the property and an investor will be buying the property, but I have not found a buyer yet, how do I get around viewing the property without proving the funds to buy?
If I might start, Istvan.
Yeah.
That is a great question, honestly. Especially, it's very, very hard to start. When you're starting out, it's always can be an issue. All I can advise you: join our mentorship program, and we're gonna provide proof of funds for your meetings. Just put aside the joke. This is a valid question, and don't worry, not all of the estate agents are gonna ask for proof of funds. Some of them, few of them, most of them, it depends on where you are, it depends on the situation. They could ask for proof of funds in order to view the property, but I viewed a number of properties recently as well, and they never asked me proof of funds. If they asked, we always have investors already qualified so we can show, but I don't think so more than 50%. In the worst case, they will ask for proof of funds. The way get around, try to find agents or landlords direct, maybe do some leaflet campaigns, maybe, so then you don't need to provide proof of funds.
And also, can I just input on that one as well? It is a bit of a relationship thing as well. So I think you mentioned in the comment, I'm going to stick it up there as well. Apologies, Giuseppe, again. So you mentioned that you're just starting out. So I think that's probably the key in what you're asking, Richard, as well. Once you build those relationships with those agents, you will be able to get away with not providing those proof of funds straight away, because they're essentially testing you a little bit here, because they want to know if you're serious. They actually read a lot of people out by doing these sort of things. So they're trying to read you out and go, look, this guy's not serious. He hasn't got proof of funds, but you've got other means of getting to those funds via your investors. So build those relationships, explain to them that, look, the proof of funds will be there as soon as the deal is in the right stage. But I think that's your best bet at this point. Giuseppe, is anything you want to add to that as well?
Yeah, no, what you guys said is absolutely spot on. The other way to do it, which is a little bit more difficult, is find first an investor, ask this person what he or she wants to buy, and then check that he or she has got funds, proof of funds, and then you go to the estate agent and say, I'm looking for a property with the specs that your investor has given you. Yep. And when they ask for proof of funds, you show the proof of funds of your investor, so you've done it. It's always a chicken and egg situation. Do I find first the deal or the investor? I would say maybe at the beginning, unless you've got a joint venture partner and so on, or mentors who can help you, you can find the investor first with the money and then go to the estate agent. And then it's much easier life for you.
Absolutely. This is Richard, don't worry. This is only issue at the beginning. So I can assure you, if you learn, if you get the right education, if you know what you want, and if you go after it, you're gonna get it. So this is only the issue at the beginning. We all been through this. We all been this stage. The number of different ways you can avoid: go direct to landlords, vendors, do leaflet campaigns, send direct mails. So honestly, if you go, I'm gonna share with you our website. We're gonna have a lot of free course and content there. You can choose whichever type of sourcing you want. But as Giuseppe very rightly mentioned, the best way always get the investor first and then source the right property for them. However, I fully understand when you starting out, it's not always the case, because in order to have investors, you need to build up your business, and then these people are gonna come to you. They will want to invest with you, but when you're starting out, it's a really hard one. So I would suggest go to the agents and landlords directly who don't ask for proof of funds, and try to avoid this way.
Yeah. And kind of sort of, all this talk about courses and mentorship, kind of sort of good little segue into my next question to you, Giuseppe, because you kind of mentioned in our previous conversations as well that, you also help people on their property journeys. Now, I know a lot of people who do, we do as well. Can I just ask, what made you start doing this? But it's not something that comes naturally to a lot of people. Is that something do you enjoy teaching people? Is that a passion of yours? What made you start?
Yeah, so when I was in Shell, I was a mentor welcome, Rich. I was a mentor for the new graduates, so for the people who just come out of uni, and I just love it. Probably because I was a pretty bad student. It looks like I'm a very good teacher, because I know how to motivate people who don't want to be motivated. I was one of those. And for me, as I said, well, I've given you a kind of idea of the size of my portfolio and my business. I don't want to sound cheeky here, but I don't need the money of the mentoring to fuel my life. I got more than enough money to do that. For me, it's really the rewarding part of seeing people succeed, thanks to my input. So when I see my mentees, they send me, the standard selfie with the keys of the new house, and when 2.5 months earlier, they didn't even know what rent was. I said, well, probably there is a bit of my input in that selfie there, and I love it. So that's really the reason why I'm doing that, and the hours I spend now in mentoring people one-to-one in a group is honestly the best part of my working day, because it's I don't find it difficult, obviously, because I just share what I've been doing every day for the last 7 days. It's very natural, but it just see people that they appreciate your help and they learn and they progress on a weekly, bi-weekly basis is great. And that's why my mentoring course is very intense but compact. It's only 9 weeks. So you can see in a very short term period of time, a massive improvement in knowledge, and you can achieve stuff already after 2 months you started from zero. And that's what I love about that. And so I started 1 year ago, and hopefully that, as I said before, will become almost my core business in the next couple of years.
Very good. I think it's quite rewarding. I personally really enjoy doing exactly that, because like you say, you see the results, you see the the learning curve that people go through, the sometimes the struggles, but also the happy part of it, when they actually get to a realization that some of those things that they all thought they were so difficult at the beginning, they're they are, just obstacles you have to jump over and, to get to your goals. So yeah, I find it quite rewarding as well. So great.
Yeah.
So I think I've got any more questions, but Peter, have you got any more questions for Giuseppe?
No, when you coming next time?
Yeah, when you invite me. I truly enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, honestly, thank you very much. I'd be really enjoying to speak with you. Honestly, I could have take this till maybe in the midnight or even more, because a lot of great advice and guys, I'm always telling to everyone who is watching during the live or after the live, it's free. It's absolutely free. So if you're watching and joining our group, or you're joining to Giuseppe group, you can learn a lot for free. We also going to launch our courses as well, which is going to be free as well again. But obviously, if you want to make sure you get things right at the beginning, at the first, and you get the right knowledge, and you feel you have enough financials for this, then don't hesitate to hire someone and learn from direct, whether it's mastermind or whether it's mentorship, because we have a lot of mentees as well. They achieve great success within a couple of weeks, just like Giuseppe did with his mentees. So this is so important when people starting out and they don't know anything about this business, because this business, just anything else, any other business in the world, it can be so difficult if you don't get things right at the start, at the beginning. Cut the story short. I invest a bit more, but I know I'm gonna make much more on using that knowledge in a longer run. And we always need to look at the longer run, medium and longer run, not the short ones.
Absolutely. Giuseppe, I said I don't have any more questions, but I almost forgot to ask our favorite question at the very end.
Right.
I guess. So I'm going to ask you those now, if that's okay. So, what were the best and the worst decisions you've ever made, and that includes business and personal life? Very simple question, not so easy to answer.
Definitely not easy. I made a lot of bad choices and also some good ones. What can I say? Let's start with the bad one first. I think if I look at my career in Shell and where I am now, probably the worst business decision I made is when I was working in Shell Italy. I got promoted to a different level, and I had the choice of choosing where I want to live. And I had the three choices. One was in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam, where where Shell is basically based. The headquarters is in the Hague, very close to Rotterdam. And then, or I could go to Rome in the south of Italy, or I could have gone to Hamburg in Germany. So when I got the proposal, I said, well, I don't want to go to Rome because I'm from Milan. And so I don't go to Rome to live. I go to Rome to visit, but I don't want to live there. And more important, because I want to have an work experience abroad. So it didn't mean anything going to a different city in it. In Germany, in Hamburg, my cousin, who is one of my best friends, was living there. And so I decided in the lazy way, I say, I go to where I know somebody, so it's an easier way to get into the a new environment, because he has been living. He has been living there for 6-7 years, same age as mine, and so on. Don't get me wrong, I had an amazing time, but business-wise, if I had been much more closer to the headquarters, probably my career would have changed in a different way. If I want to flip that one, obviously, if my career changed in a different way, probably I would not be here talking to you guys.
Exactly.
So, I think that was a bad choice, but then he ended up in a nice way. In terms of good decision, and I know because I'm in UK, in England here, I think taking the decision to move abroad and work abroad, especially in the UK, in England, is the best decision from a business point of view, because the opportunities that you can get in this country, and I love Italy. I would go tomorrow morning to live in Italy, so don't get me wrong. But what I'm doing here, especially in the real estate world, in property world, I will never be able to do it in Italy, because the finance system, the banks, you know, the angels and so on, the legislation will not allow me to do rent to rent. Is impossible to do in Italy. And so I think that my decision to take myself out of my comfort zone and move here and was the best decision, let alone that my wife is English. So probably should say that the best decision was to marry my wife, but
you should have put her first.
So yeah, these are my best and worst decision probably.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing those with us, Giuseppe. We really, really enjoyed it. You know, we always do. We always enjoy having guests, but you know, especially you. I think great to share your experiences with us, and you know, with everyone's watching. I think there's a lot of learning out of what you've been through and what you've achieved. You know, I'm personally very impressed. I think you've done amazingly. So you should be very proud for sure, and I'm sure you are.
I am.
So thank you again. Like I say, thank you, and hopefully we'll have you back again at another time. So thanks again.
Thank you to you guys as well. I really enjoy it. I hope that our audience has learned something from me, and but yeah, very happy to come back if you want. I truly enjoy it. So always nice to talk with you guys.
You need to come back at stage 3. Keep updating.
Exactly. I might do this call from a beach in Miami, but that's excellent.
All right. Well, thanks again. We will sign off, guys. Thank you all for joining us. Like I said, we really enjoyed it. Hope you have too. Thank you, Giuseppe. Thank you, Peter. See you guys. Have a good rest of your evening.